What is up, everyone? Welcome back to some more Higurashi. In the previous recording session, we've wrapped up the prologue of Chapter 8, which was finishing off the origins of Takano's arrival in Hinamizawa. And then we got into the meat of it, which I really like the format of what the main chunk of Chapter 8 seems to be, with all these like pieces scattered about and you trying to connect the dots on everything. It's very fun. I'm very much enjoying it. I even made up a whole Google document to keep track of everything I've seen and everything I need to see to unlock other things. It's been really fun. Really fun. I've been really liking it. So without further ado, we're just going to jump back into it. The next fragment we were set to see is number 14, which is an accident at Shirakawa Park, which I believe is going to be the truth behind what happened at that park. So without further ado. What do you mean this fragment can't be connected yet? So I guess we haven't seen... Well, that's the thing. We saw that... I do like it actually tells you that, though, for sure. So at least I do know that I haven't seen anything out of order yet. That is nice to have confirmed. But I guess we never actually saw Satoko refuse Satoshi's visit. I guess that's something I just inferred. So I guess I'll take that one off. Never mind then. Oh, shit. Where do I go from here? Damn, that kind of throws a wrench into my plans, as I wasn't really sure. Yeah, from what I have, so there must be something I saw that I didn't realize I had yet. Because we never saw Irie's decision that I know of. His decision. I gotta imagine that's regarding Satoko's dissection. And that's the thing, that's the discontinuation, which we haven't seen it be discontinued. As far as we've seen, all the plans are still in motion. The third year's curse hasn't happened. We don't have the Queen Carrier willing to participate. We haven't seen anything about Rika's parents yet. The aunt's not dead. I guess there was the one I was kind of like uncertain of, but I don't feel like that's quite it yet. Because technically we do know that Satoshi has joined the baseball team, so like potentially he has a bat. But if we haven't even gotten to the third year curse, jumping to the fourth year seems like not the right move. But yeah, the Queen Carrier, which I assume is to get this one. We haven't seen the instructions for kidnapping operation of grandson. We haven't seen the truth about the park accident. We haven't seen the results of the research. We haven't seen an execution order. We have seen the declaration of war. Prior consent for the collection of cerebrospinal fluid. Is that something? Is that like regarding the dissections? Because I guess we would technically have that, maybe. The priest has not we have the shopping trip, but the priest hasn't contacted the institution. We haven't seen anything about Satoshi's job or the footsteps. We haven't seen anything about Reina's sins. We haven't seen anything about a red capsule, which I'm pretty sure is the name of one of the fragments, so we can't see Reina's thing yet. No fourth year curse. Nothing about the Ryugus. No death of the Furudes. Nothing about the T-set being put away or Keiichi's dad. God, the only one I can really think of that might be it would be this one, but I feel like that's jumping the shark. Yeah. That makes sense. That's the thing, I wasn't expecting that one to be ready to be connected yet since we haven't even seen the third year. Okay, so now you got me fucked up. Now you got me fucked up. Okay, the only other one I could guess is the thing about spinal fluid. No. No. What the fuck? So what have I seen that I don't realize I've seen? What the fuck? I don't know, man. So, like, I guess I'd try this one? Because, like, we do have the research hitting its first snag. That is something, like, we explicitly saw. Though we never saw any instructions for the kidnapping operation. But the kidnapping operation, like, we've already seen up to the second curse, so, like, the kidnapping operation would have already happened at this point. Right? So, I could... Okay, I guess. Sure. Alright, whatever. That very night, the head of the Hurure family, the priest, gathered his wife and Rika together for a family meeting. In Yamizawa, it was tradition for the three families to gather and discuss the village's issues. So it's hardly unusual for big families like the Sonozaki family and the Kimiyoshi family to have meetings beforehand to sort out opinions among themselves. However, the Hurure family had lost its branch families, so there were only the three of them left. So until that day, they had never had a family meeting at all.
どうしたんですか、改まって。ひょっとしてダムに関わるお話ですか?
The dam was the most important issue in the village at the moment. The wife naturally assumed the priest wanted to talk about the dam. For him to gather all of them together like that, it must be a huge decision he had to make. Perhaps he was going to talk about joining the pro-evacuation camp.
いや、ダムの話ではない。だが、この村に関わる、いや、この村のご先祖様たちにも関わる、とても大事な問題だ。
The Hurure family had served in the priesthood of Oyashiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village, for generations. So for him, the head of the family, to start out that way, it must be something extremely important. Yet, he said it wasn't about the dam, so what could he want to talk about?
私は入り婿だ。だから、古出家の本当の血を受け継ぐお前とリカには、よく聞いてほしい。お前たちは、普通の人間ではないのだ。
僕は、お社様の生まれ変わりなのですよ。
リカ、そういうのは口にしてはいけません。あなた、そういう話はリカのいないところでしましょう。それでなくっても、集会所のお年寄りたちがリカに妙なことばかり吹き込んで。
その、お社様の生まれ変わりというのが、どうも、本当らしいのだ。
は？
少し長い話になる。二人とも、しばらく黙って、私の話を聞きなさい。
The wife had a dumbfounded expression on her face, not knowing what he was going to say, but Rika was completely relaxed, wearing her usual carefree expression. The priest started to talk after his wife calmed down.
この村には大昔からある病気があるのだ。それはこの地にだけある特別な病気。それにはこの村に住む者が全員かかっている。今この村に住んでいる者だけではない。大昔から住んでいたご先祖様たちも。
そんな、だって私たちはみんなこの村だけの病気なんて聞いたこともない。
落ち着きなさい。その病気はな、この村にいる限り何も問題はないのだ。だがこの村を出て遠くの地へ行くとわかるか。
わかるわけないでしょ。何のことだかさっぱり。
お社様のたたりと同じなのです。
Rika said it so calmly while her mother became frustrated.
そうだ、この村から離れるとたたりがあるのと同じなのだ。つまりお社様のたたりだとご先祖様たちが代々恐れてきたのは。
そんなことあるわけないです。だって私たちだって時には村を離れることもある。村の人だって仕事で遠くへ出かける人だっているし、海外に出かける人だって。
うん、それは長い長い時間を経て病気が徐々に弱まってきたかららしい。だからこのままさらに長い時間をかければ消えてなくなってしまうものだったのだ。だがそれがダム戦争のせいでおかしくなったらしい。ダム戦争で今村中が熱に浮かされたように興奮している状態にあるのはみんなも分かっているだろう。そういう興奮状態や情緒不安定な状態はこの病気を悪化させてしまうらしいのだ。
よく話がわかりませんけど、つまりこの大昔からたたりだと呼んできたものは全てその病気の仕業だとおっしゃるんですね。
そうだ、お社様の作った決まりは全てこの病気から村人を守るための決まりだったのだ。
そんな、それじゃお社様は神様ではなく病気が正体なんですか？そんなこと古出家代々のご先祖様たちに説明できますか？
落ち着きなさい。お社様の信仰は変わらない。お社様がひなみ沢を見守ってくださることに、お社様のたたりを再現する病気がこの村には大昔からあったということ。
そんなのは認められません。そんなこと亡くなった先代や先々代に説明できますか？古出家数百年の伝統に対する、いえお社様に対する冒涜です。そんなことをあなたに吹き込んだのは誰ですか？失礼極まりない。大地、そんな変な病気が実在するという証拠があるんですか？
ある。
それはどんな、誰が？
厚生省と国立感染症予防研究所の方からだ。病原体もすでに特定され、現在治療方法などを研究している最中だという。先週実際にその資料や標本などを見せてもらった。厚生省の方はこの病気をひなみ沢症候群と呼んでいるらしい。
そんな。
ひなみ沢症候群は普通に生活している分には何も影響のない。だがひなみ沢を遠く離れたり、精神や情緒が不安定になったりすると発病しやすくなるという。発病すると妄想などに取りつかれ、最悪の場合異常行動に出ることもあるらしい。この病気は戦争中に発見されたんだそうだ。戦地でひなみ沢の兵隊だけ異常な病気を起こすことがあるのに、偉い学者の先生が気がついて研究がずっと進められてきたんだという。その辺の話はだいぶ詳しくしてもらったんだが、難しい内容だったので私の口からはこれ以上うまく説明できん。もし私の説明では納得できんというなら、私だって最初は何をバカなことを、お社様を冒涜する気かと憤慨していたのだから。その病気を研究するために入江診療所が作られたというんだ。あそこは表向きはただの診療所ということになっているが、
秘密で研究しているなんてうさんくさいじゃないです。それも厚生省がやっていることなら堂々とやればいいじゃないですか。
いや、そうはいかんらしい。この病気の実態を把握しないまま存在するという事実だけが不十分な知識で広まってしまったら、ひなみ沢の人間は皆怪しげな病気にかかっていて、 そのせいでとんでもないことをするかもしれない。厚生省もそのことを心配していて、この病気については厳重に伏せた上で治療を目指すらしい。勘違いするな。私たちを見せ物にするというんじゃないぞ。この病気を根絶させ、この村を病気から解放しようとしているのだ。自給自足ができていた大昔ならともかく、現代では村から一歩も出ずに生活など成り立たん。村から出るだけで発病するかもしれない病気など、村人にとってどれほど危険なものかわかるだろ。繰り返しになるが、昨今反ダム戦争で村全体が強い興奮状態にあって、ひなみ沢症候群にとって非常に良くない状態にあるらしい。
もし村人がおかしくなって大変なことをしたら、きっとマスコミがパシャパシャでいっぱいなのです。
そうだ。うん。そうなったからでは手遅れ。
そんないきなり言われても信用できませんわ。
Yeah, no. It's definitely starting to make sense that it's quite possible Rika's mom actually did take her own life at this point. Because, like, her whole worldview is being, like, flipped on its head right now, and I could totally see her not being able to handle it. Especially because they say, like, the dad, from, like, the official stories we've seen thus far, I'm sure we'll see the truth in due time, but they say, like, the father succumbed to an illness, but, like, it was never stated what the illness was. But if he himself succumbed to the Hinamizawa syndrome, and like the people in charge who told him about it also then told her about it, and she was forced to face the fact that it is real, it is a thing, and now your husband is gone because of it, I can totally see. So pretty much whatever last shred of belief you were holding on to is like ripped away from you. I could see it pushing her to a breaking point like that.
本当に相手は国の人？変な詐欺に騙されてるんじゃないですか？
信用できんのも無理はない。
I mean, honestly, it can be people from the government and they can still trick you, let's be honest here, but
先方は研究所はいつでも見に来ていいと言っている。
that is interesting. So like, are all the families like aware of this, or did they just open it up to the Furudes simply because of Rika's connection to the syndrome? I gotta imagine that would be the case, because then otherwise Mion would be a lot more knowledgeable of it, right? If all three families are made aware, it wouldn't be quite the, you know, bombshell that was dropped in chapter 7. Rika reveals everything about it, and then if all three families were informed, then Mion would be like, oh, yeah, no, that's right.
私はもう見せてもらっているが、あれは詐欺とかそういうレベルではない。ゴングラの大病院でもあんな大掛かりな設備はないぞ。お前も私の話に納得できないなら、私よりもっと詳しく説明してくれるだろう。向こうは研究所の説明でも納得できないなら、東京の国立研究所で説明してもいいし。
でも信じる信じないは別に。
古出家は代々お社様の血を受け継ぐと言われている。そして8代続いて女子が生まれれば、その8代目はお社様の生まれ変わりであるとも。
そうですわ。私が7代、リカが8代目。でもそれとその病気に何の関係がある？
うん。このひなみ沢症候群という病気はある種の寄生虫によるらしい。虫といってもものすごく小さい。人の目には決して見えんくらいに。その虫たちには親分格がいるというのだ。
まさかそれが古出家だとおっしゃ。
その親分格の寄生虫は代々古出家の直系だけに受け継がれるらしい。つまり先代はお前、今はリカだ。
バカバカしい。そんな話大体ですね。寄生虫なんてそんな気持ち悪いもの。
I just love the fact that she keeps throwing questions at him. He's just gonna be like, well, I mean, if you have questions, go talk to them. You can go talk to, there's people who can give you answers, but that's exactly why she won't go talk to them. She doesn't want the real answers.
だから私では説明が下手。専門の人に説明を受けなさい。
Yeah, exactly. Girl, stop asking me all these questions. I am just the messenger. Go talk to the people who told me this shit.
そして彼らが言うには、この病気の治療を研究するためには親分格の研究が不可欠だというのだ。
嫌です。そんな怪しげな研究まっぴらごめんですし。
だから落ち着きな。彼らの研究では、ひなみ沢症候群は村から離れると発病するのではなく、お前も小さかった頃、村人から陣痛力があると言われていたことがある。遠方に出かけ片頭痛などにかかったお年寄りがお前に払ってもらうとたちまち頭痛が消えたという陣痛。それこそが親分格の証拠でもあるというの。フルデの血には発病者を救う力がある。それを研究するのは治療薬を見つけるためにもとても重要なことなのだそうだ。
僕を研究すると村のみんなが助かるのですか？
先方はそう言っている。
その病気は村の全員がかかっているのですか？僕もみんなも里子も。
村に住む人間全員だけでなく、沖宮に住む親類なども全て含むそうだ。多分何千人という規模になるだろう。それだけの大変な病気だから、厚生省がわざわざたくさんの予算を投じて専門の研究所を作ってくれたのだ。
私は反対です。
Nah, I mean, 2 against 1. Shut up.
リカをそんな怪しげな研究の生贄にするだなんて。
僕はいいのですよ。僕が生贄で里子が助かるなら
Aww.
全然平気なのです。
Sweetie. Of course, the moment she gets confirmation that it would help her best friend, she's like, well then yeah, absolutely. God damn it, you're such a
リ
sweetheart.
カは黙っていなさい。とにかくあなたにそんな妙なことを吹き込んだ人たちにはリカを変な実験で殺されてた。大体リカはフルデ家のたった一人の後継ぎなんですよ。
Man,
もしものことがあればフルデの血はここで絶えてしまうかもしれないじゃないで。あなたはもっとですね、フルデの家のことを考えていただかないと。そんなだから村の人たちに日和見主義とかなんとか言われて。
okay, and there's the opportunist
大
claim.
体おかしいじゃないですか。建設省は村をダムに沈める、厚生省は村の病気を治す。何が何だかさっぱりわからないです。
厚生省はこの病気は環境の変化で大変発病しやすいと警告していて、だからお前も研究所を見せてもらいなさい。あれだけの大設備をダム湖に沈むかもしれない土地に建てるわけ。
Rika let out a big yawn. It was long past bedtime for a little girl like her.
僕はもう寝ますです。父さん、僕はいつでも協力するとその人たちに。
リカ、そんなことお母さんに断りなく勝手に決めちゃいけません。リカ、待ちなさい。リカ
No, it is bedtime, mother. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me go through the list here. So we now have the Queen's participation, which opens up number 4, at least should open up number 4 if I haven't fucked things up. And also should open up number 10. Okay. Rika's father being called an opportunist. That's happened. So I just want to check number 7. Rika's mother's suspicion. Well, I mean, we know that she's not very trusting of this whole plan. I'll mark it for now. I don't know if that one's quite right yet. That could be one I've not quite... Maybe I'm misreading like some of the other ones. Let's see. So which one did I just take care of? Right, number 12. I don't remember when we got the kidnapping instructions, but I guess we got those at some point. But fragment 12 is all taken care of. So I suppose try number 4. An L5 patient's dissection is required, which we have that from the first year, and the Queen is willing to participate, which, as far as I'm aware, that should be what I just saw. So let's see number 4. Number 4? Alright, number 4.
フルデさん、お待たせしました。今、最後の検査を終えたところです。もうすぐ戻ってくると思います。
娘が村のために役に立てばいいのですが。
とんでもない。リカさんの協力は村を救うことにもなります。おかげでようやく治療方法にも目処がついてきたところです。
You know, okay. So that's the thing. Before I was thinking because like they were kind of building up the fact that like Irie has a bit of a bond with Satoshi. So I was thinking that would be the sole thing that would stop him from doing anything to Satoko. But I could totally see like Rika putting on some sob story about like Satoko is her best friend and how like no one else treats her well and she wants to make sure she's treated right, and that's the whole reason she's a part of this operation and whatnot. That could make Irie be like go to Takano and be like, listen, if anything happens to Satoko, we're not gonna have Rika anymore. We cannot dissect Satoko.
仕組みはまだ調べているところですが、リカさんの存在がやはり村人にとってとても大切なものであることが分かってきました。レベルの進んでしまった一般感染者は自力ではそのレベルを下げて症状を安定させるのが非常ですが、女王感染者に接近することで脳内にある種の物質が作られることが分かっています。
And, you know, if Rika herself is aware of that, I guess that kind of it makes sense why she would go out of her way to like, for one, go see Shion in chapters 2 and 5, you know, try to mediate that herself, because she's under the impression that, you know, it's potential that there's potential that a patient could stabilize himself being around the queen. Also explains, again, I mean, obviously she was already, you know, besties with Satoko, but it also makes sense why the arrangements would be made in place to where she would be living with Satoko after Teppei flees the village. That could definitely be something put in place by that was strongly suggested by the Irie clinic, to be like, oh, you know, Satoko has already reached L5 stage. We've been told that already by year 2, right? So if we keep her in contact with the queen, keep her in close proximity, you know, that will help keep her from doing anything rash and anything worsening her condition and whatnot. And then also in chapter 6, when like Reina's starting to lose her mind, Rika goes out of her way to visit Reina, and for all we know, it could have been in an effort to hopefully stabilize her condition just by being around her as the queen. I see it.
その物質には鎮静効果があり、また進んでしまった症状のレベルを抑え、この物質を処方できるようになれば治療の強力な決め手となるでしょう。
そうですか。理科にそのような力が。
驚かれるには値しないのでは。フルデの巫女には荒れた心、鬼を鎮める神通力があると私たちが解明しなくても、村の数百年にわたる歴史はすでにそれを。
そうですね。大昔の方の聡明さは時に現代医学から見ても感心させ。
検査が終わったのです。
リカ、大変だったな。疲れただろ。これで自動販売機でジュースを買ってきなさい。
血をいっぱい抜かれたから補給なのです。
Rika took the 100 yen coin that was offered to her and ran out into the hallway.
本当にリカさんの彼女が献身的に協力に応じてくれなければ。
リカは自分の友達もその病気にかかっているということを気にしていて、友達のためにも協力したいと常に言っていました。どうか先生方、リカの心意気を汲んでやってください。
もちろんです。毎週日曜日に貴重な時間を割いていた。必ずや成果にしてみせます。今後もリカさんに過酷な実験を強いることがあると思いますが、
彼女に危害を加えることは絶対にあり。彼女はとても
と何しろお社様の生まれ変わりなんですから。
大昔の村人はどのようにしてこの病気の古出家にその女王の血が流れていることを知ったのやら、ご先祖様たちにはつくづく頭が下がります。
それで彼女の脳脊髄液の採取のご許可をいただきたいのです。
Okay, so there's that.
また場合によっては彼女の頭蓋に閃光を当け直接頭部の中を
頭蓋骨に。
もちろん安全性にはリカさんはたった一人しかいない、間違っても危害を加えることがないよう私。
もちろん頭部先行周辺の頭髪には気を使います。ただ経過を慎重に見るためにしばらく入院。
もちろんその間面会謝絶ということはありません。検査にもぜひ立ち会ってください。お父さんが身近におられた方がリカさんは安心するでしょう。
その検査はどうしても必要なもので、絶対。
脳脊髄液の採取も頭蓋の閃光もどちらも常に 1% の危険があります。またリカさんに身体的あるいは精神的苦痛を与えるでしょう。いくら重要な検査といえどもご家族の同意なしには。
リカちゃんには実はもう同じ話を。
リカはなんと。
自分は構わない
リカさんには危険や苦痛が伴う可能性がある。ですがやはり保護者の方の承諾をいただかないわ。
リカは自分のことを本当にお社様の生まれ変わりだと信じている時があります。だから村人のために自分の身を捧げるのが自分の義務だと思っているところがあるのかもしれま
Not
せん。
really for the villagers, more so for one villager in particular.
立派なお子さんだと。
一応家内とも相談させてください。納得はしてくれているのですが、やはりことがことなので話をしないわけにもいかない。
I'm guessing that's where the mother's like real suspicion comes into play.
ええ、ご家族の同意は不可欠だと思います。よくご相談なさってください。
その検査は病気の根絶のために重要な意味があるのですね。
はい、ひなみ沢症候群のベールを剥ぐ決定的なものになるでしょう。
決定的なものの第一歩にですわ。
すでにご説明しておりますように、女王感染者に万一のことがあった場合、平たく申し上げると村人全員が突如として末期発症を起こす可能性もあるということです。
ええ、急性発症の平均から見て女王感染者死亡から48時間以内に全感染者が末期発症を起こします。それだけは絶対に防がなくてはなりません。
リカが死ぬようなことがあれば村中が。
はい、それを防ぐのもそのために危険を冒さなければならないのはとても皮肉なことですが、
入江先生、必ずその検査を成功させていただけますか。
ですから医学には 100% や絶対などと。
ええ。
Idia answered with a nod, interrupting Takano's vague response.
私入江京介がリカさんを救います。村人も救います。絶対にです。
わかりました。家内と相談させてください。その上で後日改めてお返事させていただきます。
はい、よろしくお願いいたします。
After Rika and her father left, Takano started to
ど
laugh.
うしましたか。何か愉快なことでも。
いえいえ、患者とご家族から律儀に事前承諾を取られていたのが
リカさんには本来無用の苦痛を強いています。それくらいは最低限の礼儀だと思いました。去年の男も正常な状態にあれば事前承諾を取りたかったと。
入江所長はここの研究を始められてからずっと。
それはどういう意味ですか。
This type of teasing was normal from Takano, but maybe she had gone a little too far. Idia made it clear how displeased he was to hear that.
ひなみ沢症候群の研究はそれが分かってなお。
罪の意識は必要です。殺人であれ解剖であれ 相手に死を強いる点で変わりません。私たちはその罪を受け止めて、なおその死を無駄にしないために最大限の努力と研究を重ねなくてはな。
ご高説ですわね。では入江所長、あなたはこれまで人の脳を切り取ることに
Ide didn't think Takano knew about
あ
that.
なたの人の罪は脳の疾患によるものという独りよがりで、一体何人の患者が事前承諾なく脳を切除されたんですの？
それは
常識は時代で変わる。当時は医者が治療をいちいち説明することなどなかったし、だから当時のことは気にしなくていいんじゃないですかしら。今は倫理上問題があっても当時は問題なかった。ならばいいじゃありませんの。でもそれに罪を感じているからリカちゃんやあの男にさえも事前承諾が取りたかった。
それは誤解。そもそも治療と解剖では患者。
ねえ坊や、
Oh, hitting him with the boy.
あなたが欲しいのは事前承諾という名の免罪符。そうでしょ。あなたが欲しいのは過去の罪をあがないたいという心を満たすだけの欺瞞。後悔しているならば二度と脳に関わらなければいい。なのにだらだらと後悔しながらあなたはいつまでも未練がましくこの世界で脳に関わっている。その罪の意識が本物ならあなたはあの時所長就任の話を断ればよかったはず。そうでしょう坊や。
Damn.
とても深いです。私は失礼させ。
聞きなさい。医学は常にその時代の倫理や価値観との戦いから勝ち取られるの。かつて高野先生がひなみ沢症候群の存在を予見した時、その時代の権威たちは自分たちの無知を棚に上げ、その先見性を嘲笑った。でも病に倒れる直前まで必ず自分がいつか評価される日が来ると信じて、そしてその日が自分の死後であったとしても、それは強い信念と揺らぎのない鉄の意志があるから成し遂げられること。そうでなければ時代の無理解に高野先生は屈していたはず。研究はね、意志の力で成し遂げるのよ。絶対的に強固な意志だけが結果を紡ぎ出す。でもあなたにはそれがない。あなたは自分の実績を誇るべきか恥じるべきかすら自分で決めかねている臆病者よ。そんな中途半端な覚悟でよくこのような研究所の所長を引き受けられたものね。血塗られた両手をさらに血に浸すことでしか明かせぬ研究だと最初から分かっていたはずなのに。
否定はしません。私は中途半端。
ならば所長を守秘義務は残るでしょうけど、あなたはこれ以上私にとって、あなたはパートナーである以前にこうして研究機関が成立した今、あなたの存在はもう重要ではないの。しかもその上研究に対する覚悟が足りず、研究のパートナーとしても役立たずならあなたは無能のような死を。私は一人でもどんな罪も後悔も恐れない強固な意志だけが、かつて高野先生が高潔な精神で成し遂げたように。
立派な決意だと。ですが私もあなたに及ばないにしても、そしてあなたの言う通り、そしてひなみ沢に来て、だからその責任を全うするまでは私は逃げることはできません。相変わらず私は罪を清算できず、でも逃げない。必ずひなみ沢症候群、それだけがこの研究に命を捧げてくださった方、そしてこれから捧げることになるかもしれない方への最後の誠意だと思っています。
Idiot wore a determined look on his face. He appeared different from even a moment before when he was baffled by Takano having brought up those painful memories. For a short while, Idiot's eyes displayed his strong will. Then he turned
お
around.
そらくリカさんの検査は準備をお願いします。
ええ、所長。
They got their consent the following week. Oh. I'm surprised there wasn't like a scene where we once again saw the mother arguing about it. You're like, no, no, this can't happen. No. Not dear sweet Rika. Okay, so that's the 4th fragment taken care of. We'll still need the Queen's participation for fragment 10. Okay, so what did we get out of this one? Yeah, we got the consent for fluid collection. Yeah, I think... Right, I believe we would have that one. That would be page 4. Yeah, the Shinto priest contacting the Irie institution. Pretty sure by this point we would definitely have that one. Because not only have we seen him talk to his family being like, yeah, I talked to the people at the institution, and then we just saw the scene where like he was at the fucking hospital. Like, I feel like at this point we can cross off the priest talked to the institution. Okay. So, let's go for number 10, which would be page 2. Yeah, the quarry and Yagochi. When researching Hinamizawa syndrome, there's something very important that needs to be discussed first. If something happens to the Queen Carrier, the village will collapse. In his article, my grandfather called it the most dangerous situation. According to my grandfather, if the Queen Carrier dies, all the infected persons will go terminal within 48 hours. This may sound unbelievable at first, but research on the collapse of past local religions and group suicides around the world should indicate that there's some truth to it. Among all the mysterious incidents around the world, there are some that were caused by parasites controlling entire communities, very similar to Hinamizawa syndrome. Grandfather picked a few cases that are very similar to the syndrome and investigated them. As a result, he confirmed multiple cases of entire communities losing their minds after the death of a religious leader or founder, and finally annihilating themselves. He stated that, on average, it happened within 48 hours. It's clear that infected people are infected by the Queen Carrier, and the condition of the Queen Carrier is, in fact, affecting the entire village. Our statistics already prove that on weeks Rika felt sick and visited the clinic, we saw an exceptionally high number of visitors. Rika being sick with a simple cold had a massive impact. If something particularly bad happened to her, we'd be facing a serious situation within 48 hours. That's why the Irie Institute has to protect Rika Furure, the Queen Carrier. It's the most important mission of the Hinamizawa Syndrome Research Project. She's already agreed to help us in our research, but we have to be very careful not to put her in any danger. Also, we have to protect her from anyone who would try to harm her. Her life is equal to the lives of 2,000 villagers. But, what if something happens to her by accident? The Irie Institute must prepare for that situation. That's why I worked on the draft of an emergency manual when the Irie Institute was first established. Okay, there's that. It's a precaution in case the Queen Carrier dies, or if infected people show acute symptoms due to the death of the Queen Carrier. This is an emergency procedure which must be followed within 48 hours of the mass occurrence of the acute symptoms. The final measure is to prevent the damage from spreading to nearby areas. The plan uses gas, making it look like a natural disaster. My client, the Alphabet Project, took responsibility of working out the details of the plan. They're used to dealing with things like nuclear and biological weapons, so they ended up being such a big help. There's no way I could have come up with a plan on my own to execute 2,000 villagers. Through a dummy company, the Ground SDF has secured a closed quarry in the Yagochi region upstream of Hinamizawa. It's to be the secret storage base for the equipment we'd use in that operation. Equipment that sprays deadly gas that kills people as if they were falling asleep is stored here. In the case of an emergency, a special unit of the Ground SDF is to use this equipment to destroy the village. However, preparing for the execution of the villagers itself is politically dangerous. So if I'm going to insist on them getting the equipment ready, I have to make them understand how dangerous Hinamizawa syndrome is, and also how urgent the need is to have a contingency plan. I have to prove the need for the plan by showing them enough data. So the files my grandfather kept intact come in quite handy. When the clients read my grandfather's articles about the syndrome, they were surprised to see how catastrophic things could be in the worst case scenario.
つまり女王である一人の少女に何かがあれば村人2000人以上が全員錯乱するということなのですね。
はい。南沢症候群に極めて類似するいくつかのケースでは、南沢症候群の場合、強い疑心暗鬼や過剰なまでの危機意識から何かの過剰防衛を行う可能性があり、それらは 無政府状態の暴動から始まり、猟奇的な、あるいは宗教的終末感にも似た異常な状況を作り出すでしょう。これに対する事前の鎮圧策を用意しなかった場合、世界の注目を浴びることは避けられません。また、その猶予は事態発生から48時間しかあります。
つまりいざことが起こったらもう誰にも防げないということ。
感染者全員を48時間以内に全員。
無理だろう。それに治療方法すら確立していないし、研究所の規模では村人全員の救済は物理的に不可能だ。しかしこのような恐ろしく珍しい病気が世の中わからんもんですな。
常に最悪の事態に備えることは国防にも通じますし、我々アルファベットプロジェクトの理念でもあります。そして使うことが目的なのではなく、備えることそのものが寛容なのです。
確かにおっしゃる通りですな。運用規定については決済区分の強化などまだ検討したいところはありますが、最悪の事態に対応する準備が必要だということは理解できました。
都市沈黙船の研究班にひなみ沢地区沈黙船のシミュレーションをさせましょう。これは至急行われる必要があると思います。こうしている間にも女王感染者の少女が車にはねられて死んでしまう。高野さんさ、ありがとう。また質問しますので着席してくださって結構です。
Thanks to a push from one of my backers, things were decided without too much of a problem. It took me almost a day to explain it to them, but it only took a short time to come to a decision. Nobody criticized, ridiculed, or tried to reject my grandfather's articles out of hand. In the files they're all reading today are the very same shameful articles those haughty authorities left their footprints on as they trampled them in my grandfather's heart. But they aren't ridiculing the articles. They're reading what was once rejected. It's nothing big at a glance, but in this moment, my grandfather's research is being recognized for the first time. My heart is filled with satisfaction to see people discussing amongst each other while pointing to my grandfather's files and raising them as proof. I've worked so hard for this day. Grandpa in heaven, can you see this? Okay. So we definitely have the draft of the emergency manual. So that opens that up. Okay, that takes care of fragment 10. So maybe fragment 7? Fragment 7? Is it time for the third sacrifice yet? Or have we not seen the mother's suspicion yet? Do I have that one falsely marked? Is it not time? Okay, it's not time. I do have that. Because the mother already called the father out for being called an opportunist, but clearly the mother isn't. And I was kind of suspecting that, right? Because at this point, they wouldn't really have a motivation to kill them, right? But it's once the mother suspects that something else is going on that she would then get involved. That makes sense. Let's see here. What else could we try? 19? Yeah, the prior consent for the fluid. Can we see that now? Yes, we can. The lights came on in the meeting room as the slideshow ended, and all the auditors began to applaud, praising the IPlayVidya institution's dramatic accomplishments.
素晴らしい。実に素晴らしい。本音を言わせてもらえば、私はこのひなみ沢症候群の研究はあまり期待していませんでした。仮に進むとしても、10年単位で3歩進んで2歩下がるような研究になると思って。
いやいや、それが短期間の間にこれだけの成果を上げられるとは。入江所長の努力と指導の賜物です。
そんなこと、私を支えてくださる優秀なスタッフとそちらの高野さんのおかげです。
ご謙遜をやはり脳に関しては入江所長は何しろ脳に関しては誰も及ばない実績をお持ちなのです。
そうですな。あなたと同じ年の医者であなたほど大勢の脳みそをご覧になってきた方はおりますまい。
おめでとうございます、入江兄さん。私もこれで東京に胸を張って報告に帰れます。
富武さんに良いお土産が持たせられて光栄です。 あとニサというのはご勘弁を。どうしても馴染めませんので。というかリサさんって聞こえるんですよね。
まるで女性の名前みたいに聞こえますね。
でも二郎さんも影の立役者ですわね。なかなか成果の出せない私たちの予算を二郎さんが懸命に努力して維持してくださったおかげですわ。
いやでも今回の成果は劇的です。ひなみ沢症候群の病原体を特定し、今後の研究計画に具体的道筋をつけることができました。以後の進捗監査がとても楽しみになります。
これだけの成果があれば東京はねちっこく予算を削減しろとは言いますまい。
何しろ皆さんにお出ししている缶コーヒーの予算まで。
富武君、東京にしっかり報告して祝杯が挙げられるくらいの予算はつけ。無知ばっかりではいかんね。飴もないとね。
その飴は予算で還元していただけると一番嬉しいのです。
With that congenial atmosphere, our routine audit was over. Idiot was surrounded and being questioned by National Institute of Infectious Diseases workers who had joined the auditors.
高野さん、おめでとう。みんなの前では言えないけれど、今日の成果は全て高野さんの積み重ねによるものだよ。
ありがとう、二郎さん。
Jiro-san and I are the only ones here who know what strings were pulled in order to create the Idiot Institute. So only Jiro can understand what I had to go through.
でもこれでようやく研究の舞台に立てたというところね。私の挑むべき相手がようやく同じ土俵に上がってくれただけ。正念場はこれからよ。そしてここからが最も楽しいところになりそうだけど。
それでね、今回の件で中川本部長の方からぜひ東京で報告会をしてほしい。アルファベットの理事会もぜひ君と会合を設けたいって言ってたよ。みんな君に直接話を聞いてみたいようだね。
あらあら、二郎さんを経由した報告じゃ物足りないのかしら。
いやそういう意味じゃないとは思うけど、きっと噂の美人研究員を直接見てみたいんじゃないかな。
あら嫌だ、二郎さんた。
失礼します。高野さんさ、東京からお電話です。
お待たせしました、高野です。
おお、元気にやってるかの。
小泉先生、わざわざお電話をいただけるなんて。
いやな、みおちゃんの研究が大金星を挙げたという話が来てな、お祝いを言おうと思って電話したんだ。
ありがとうございます。はい、おかげさまで研究の第一段階であり最大の目標でもあったひなみ沢症候群の病原体特定に成功しました。
そうかそうか、ついにやったな、みおちゃん。天国で高野くんもきっと大喜びしているだろうの。
まだまだですわ。祖父はひなみ沢症候群の病原体特定な人の思想や意志が実は人以外の寄生的存在によって支配されていた可能性、それを暴いて初めて祖父の研究は偉業と称えられるのです。世界中の思想や宗教が全て寄生虫で説明できたなら世界はひっくり返るくらいの大騒ぎになるでしょうね。
それは愉快だの。偉そうに振る舞っとる宗教家連中が単なる寄生虫の親玉に過ぎんと立証されたら、ぜひそんな愉快なのを見せてくれ。みおちゃんがそれを見せてくれるまで私は天国のお迎えを断り続けてるからな。
Well, seeing how one of the fragments requires the death of Koizumi, I don't quite believe that.
縁起でもありませんわ。でも楽しみにしていてくださいね。きっと世界中があっと驚く発表をしてみせますから。その時に初めて世界中が祖父の偉業を知り、祖父が残した資料を奪い合って読み合うことになるでしょう。そこまで至って私はようやく祖父への恩返しを終えるのです。
高野くんが羨ましいの。私はな、金なんかこんなにいらんかった。この半分は捨ててもいい。あんたみたいな自分の志を継いでくれる孫が一人いてくれたらと思うよ。
ありがとうございます。身に余るお言葉です。
あとな、 小泉のおじいちゃんからのプレゼントだ。みおちゃん宛てにな、祝杯用のワインを1
Oh,
本送
the
ら
bottle
せ
of
た。
wine.
みおちゃんの家の住所がわからんかったから診療所宛てにしてある。取り寄せに手間がかかってるらしいからちょっと時間がかかるかもしれんが。
祝杯用にワインなんて。はてさて、小泉先生からどんな高級ワインが届くやら。
そんな高級酒と違う。みおちゃんも覚えとらんかね。高野くんがいつも1本のワインを大切にしておったの。
I remember. That's right. My grandfather kept a certain bottle of wine. I don't know if he bought it himself or if someone gave it to him, but he treasured it, and he always said he'd open it when his research finally gained recognition. I was a child then, so I don't even remember what brand it was. Mr. Koizumi would know. We went through all the trouble to find the same bottle of wine for this special occasion. For the first time in a while, Takano felt the same sunny warmth she experienced during her time with her grandfather.
ありがとうございます、小泉のおじいちゃん。
やっぱりみおちゃんにはそう呼ばれた方がしっくりくるの。どうもみおちゃんに先生と言われても自分のことだと思えなくてな。
I can't help but smile along with him, because I think Tomitake and Ire were just having a similar exchange.
そう呼ばれる方がお好きでしたら、人前以外ではそう。
できれば人前でもそう呼んでもらえると喜ぶんだがの。
I don't know exactly how old he is, but if he can laugh so energetically, he'll live for many more years to come. I don't know about that. I guess the saying about living a long life is true after all.
私も高野くんもみおちゃんのような子が本当の家族だったらと思うよ。本当にな。
My grandfather had his own family, of course, but because he was so into his research, he became estranged from his wife. They were legally married, but they lived separately. I never met his family when I was a child. I only met them after my grandfather committed suicide. Oh. Oh. Like, yeah, no, they kept talking like he passed away, and like, you know, they said he was an old man, so I just kind of assumed old age, but, oh. Yeah, no. And that's the thing, they set up plenty of events like in the past that not only would set up why Takano would feel so indebted to him, but also why she would feel so strongly about making sure his stuff's recognized because she sees how much people talk down on him. But yeah, no. The fact that he hit such a rock bottom in all of this that he ended up, you know, taking his own life. Yeah, no, obviously she's very driven about that. Okay. Wow, that in and of itself is quite the revelation. Wow. During his latter years, my grandfather went into psychological despair and began to look at his life with cynicism. His condition became worse over time, and he was shocked at his own dementia. He was afraid of living while his consciousness degraded. Oh. Yeah. Dementia's definitely a fucking rough one. God damn. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, dementia patients should off themselves, but also I can't help but empathize with that. So, he jumped off the rooftop of the hospital. Christ. Damn, it just keeps getting worse. It's like, yeah, no, like, I knew he was dead, but the reason he died is because he took his own life. Oh, yikes. And the reason he took his own life is because he, you know, he was diagnosed with dementia, and those signs were starting to become more and more apparent. Oof, that's rough. Yeah, he died by jumping off the rooftop of the hospital. Like, damn. It's like every new sentence, it just keeps getting worse. Only my name was in his suicide note. None of his family members' names were in it. That's when all his relatives showed up and took everything my grandfather left behind. They were afraid I was going to get his estate. They had lawyers and all that, so I backed down. I asked for everything in his study in return. Those idiots don't understand the value of my grandfather's research. They're actually happy to strike a deal out of court, and they could also get rid of the piles of papers and jars with human organs in them. He never even showed up once when he was alive, yet, like hyenas, they appeared after his death. I'd never let them put their hands all over my grandfather's research. Fortunately, I was able to protect my grandfather's soul from their tainted hands.
それでは長くなると悪い困ったことがあったらいつでもおじいちゃんに頼りなさい。 孫娘のためにいくらでも一肌脱ぐから。
ありがとう小泉のおじいちゃん。ミオはもっともっと頑張りますね。
Okay, okay. Let's see. Let's see. We got the bottle of wine. Well, at least the mention of the bottle of wine. There could be a scene where she actually gets the bottle of wine, which is totally different. But really there's nothing else that really, that we really would have picked up off of that, so I'm pretty sure it's gotta be that one. But anyway, that is fragment 19 taken care of. And now I'm down to just one page in the document. Used to be like a page and a half, but we've taken care of enough fragments that I'm down to just one page of requirements I have to sort through. Making good progress. Let's see here. No. Let's try 27, which would be page 4. Yeah, Rika and Satoko shopping trip, which we did see, and I'm pretty sure we've seen the priest contact the institution. Pretty fucking certain of that one. So let's see the depression of a Shinto priest. Yes, okay. The gathering place inside of the Hurure Shrine is in fact the headquarters of the Onegahuchi Guardians. Normally a shrine should be calm and a quiet place, but there are anti-dam signs everywhere, making it very obvious what this location has become. There are over 30 members of the Guardians here at the moment. They are having a heated conversation about their plans for the future. Although this meeting place is on the Hurure family's property, it's a community facility, so it closes at 9 p.m. Of course, sometimes the discussion gets so heated that it goes on past closing time, but meetings are supposed to end by 9. If a discussion ends early, they usually chit-chat until that time. That's what usually happens. Of course, they mostly talk about the dam even when they chit-chat. They talk about someone's mistreatment at the government office, or someone getting arrested unjustly, or complain that people at the dam construction site are too violent. Since it's idle chatter, the topics are slightly emotional, and because of that, there was a good deal of bad-mouthing the Hojos.
そしたらさ、回覧板捨てちゃったとか言い出すんだよ。普通に考えて、あそこの奥さんはさ、この間もさ、ゴミ置き場で牧野さんとこのばあさんとすんげえ口論してて。だいたい本当に粗暴だよね。理性がないというか。ああ、お前さんは地元説明会の時をありゃすごかったよ。あそこまで言うからにゃ、もう村にはおれんよ。さっさと出てけばいいのにさ。金がもらえないのどうのこうの。あさましいったらありゃしないね。いや、理性のなさで言ったら、あそこの奥さんも相当なもんだよ。
それでやっぱり遺伝。あそこのお嬢さん買い物によく見かけるんで挨拶するんだけど、向こうだから私たちバカバカしくなっちゃって。
それ言ったらあそこの坊主もいつも暗そう。
What the fuck? That's just fucked up. It's like, yeah, no, the husband's an asshole. Oh no, his wife's even worse. Yeah, their daughter, they don't even say hello to me. Man, their son looks fucking depressed. Ain't that funny? Like, man, you're not even picking an issue with him. You're just like, God, that kid looks like he's having a rough time. Fuck him too, I guess. Like, dude, what the fuck? That's kind of fucked up. Like, honestly, I don't think you should be fucking picking on either of the kids. Obviously, I love Satoko, but like, at least, and they're probably bullshitting about Satoko not saying anything, or at least saying anything to Satoko, but like, at least you're like bringing up a complaint, right? Even if it's bullshit, you're bringing up a complaint. I used to say hello to that kid, but she never even responded to me. Like, there's a proper complaint there. But then, when it comes to Satoshi, it's just like, yeah, no, that kid looks sad as fuck. Funny. God damn. By now, the Hojo family has become the enemy of the whole village. Bad-mouthing the Hojo family was the greatest shared topic that anyone could easily contribute to. You're not even... That's the thing. Just pointing out that Satoshi looks depressed isn't bad-mouthing it. That's just an observation. Laughing at it makes you a fucking dick. If he had known how powerful the three families were, especially the Sonozaki family, and if he had known Oreo-san's character, he wouldn't have said the things he did. The Hojo couple are residents here. Though they were never very enthusiastic about the council activities, they should have known what kind of person Oreo-san is. He could have imagined just what would happen to him if he talked to her that way. Yet he let his anger take over and voiced his unpleasant feelings. So most people think the Hojo family brought their isolation upon themselves. If they wanted to negotiate with the government regarding the move, they should have done so privately. Yet he was foolish enough to express himself at a public gathering like that. So not too many sympathize with the Hojo family. Ever since the big fight at the explanatory meeting, the Sonozaki family has looked at the Hojo family as their enemy and started to go after them. That caused the other pro-Dam families to go quiet, fearing they'd be made into scapegoats too, and those who wanted to leave were bitterly forced to give up. Even those people started criticizing the Hojo couple, saying they could have gotten their compensation to leave if the two hadn't picked that reckless fight. Both the anti-Dam and pro-Dam people hate the Hojos now, and the family has become even more isolated. Moreover, the Hojos are both very aggressive. They should have stayed quiet at least until things settled down, but they didn't. That alienated the handful of people who took pity on them as well, so now nobody even says anything to them. All of that was immediately obvious by listening to the foul talk here and there at the gathering place. Rick always helps out by putting the teacups away, so I'm sure she hears what they say as well. One of the Hojo family members they're bad-mouthing is Rika's friend, Satoko-chan. It hurts to think about what Rika feels while hearing that. As priest of the Hurure Shrine, should I let this continue? That's why they start to call you a fucking wishy-washy fence sitter, huh? Because you feel bad for your daughter? Oyashiro-sama was a god who makes peace between enemies. When the humans and demons fought, Oyashiro-sama descended from heaven and mediated from both sides. As the caretaker of the shrine, I must do something before it goes too far. Damn. Damn. So Pops was actually somewhat of a good guy. The reason they fucking paint him in a bad light is because he wanted to fucking stick up for his daughter's friend. Oh, that's fucked. Oh, okay, well, sitting right next to Oreo, yeah. It's one thing to, like, just say it to the crowd, but I guess it is, you know, a community gathering, so Oreo would be there. Damn. That bold move. Honestly, bold move. I respect it. It's definitely a damn, okay, wow, that's strong choice to do that right next to Oreo, but, like, to bring it up right next to Oreo because you feel that strongly about your daughter's feelings, W Pops. I'm sitting next to Oreo-san, who is spitefully disparaging the Hojo family. The elderly people cheer her on as they listen to her speak. If I barge in now, I have a feeling it won't be a peaceful conversation, true? But I have to make up my mind. As the priest of the Hurure Shrine, also for the sake of Rika's friend Satoko-chan.
Oreo-san.
Damn. Nah, W Pops. Man's even knows. He knows. He looks at it, he's like, man, if I say something now, it's gonna cause a shit show. Well, I'm gonna do it anyway. I gotta say something. Fuck. And yeah, because he happened to have some fucking semblance of a conscience, he gets painted as this fucking wishy-washy fence sitter who didn't fucking, he wasn't truly supporting the fucking village. All because he said, hey, maybe we fucking ease up, huh?
Hojo-sanの悪口を言うのはいや、北条さんもそんな悪気はなく、あまりいつまでも尾を引くのはかわいそうだと。
しゃらしね、おめあれをきなおしゃらし。あ そうらしいそうらしい。
Oryo-san is the head of the Sonozaki family, the heir to the demons. She never forgives anyone who stands against her, so there's no way she would even listen to what I'm trying to say. Oryo-san and the others became furious and refused to listen to me. I also mentioned that the damn construction plan will be cancelled soon, so they should calm down already. I said that because the staff at the idiot clinic told me that the government is putting some kind of pressure on the Ministry of Construction. Some kind of pressure. But thinking that I'm being an opportunist, soon criticism of me began to circulate the room. Oh, is this the true getting painted as an opportunist thing? After that, I realized I've become branded as a fence-sitter. If the demons are willing to listen, then there's a chance to make peace. But how can I make peace with people who refuse to listen? I destroyed their mood, so I just have to give up and shut my mouth. And I felt a little hand on my back.
リカか、もう遅い時間だから。
私たちがいくら努力しても届かない。
Rika looked into the distance while she spoke.
このよどみ切った村の悪兵は、そのよどみに住まう私たちでも希望をなくす今にきっと、こいつらを打ち破ってくれる今にきっと。
Her eyes shone as if seeing a future that only the maiden of the Hurure Shrine could see. And nah, that's W pops. That's 100% W pops. That was 27, right? Yeah, okay. So that's 27. So that's that taken care of. Huh. Well, now I'm once again left with nothing obviously open that I can see, so I mean, we definitely have Rika's father being marked as an opportunist. That for sure is locked in now. Maybe that's the one thing I didn't have locked in, and I did have the mother's suspicion? Not time yet? Not time yet. Okay, I didn't think so. Because we knew, like, the mother was, like, worried about, you know, the validity of the institution's claims and whatnot, but we hadn't seen anything about that. It hasn't made a decision. That hasn't been discontinued. The third year, this is the third year, so this definitely hasn't happened yet. The aunt's not dead. There's no test results. Satoko hasn't refused any visits. There's no execution order. We haven't even hit third year, so we definitely haven't hit fourth year. Koizumi's not dead. No medicine's been completed. Rika hasn't had a high fever. Has Tomitake made a promise? Because we've seen the bottle of wine. We've seen the draft of the emergency manual. Was it about his promise to bring a camera? Did he promise something like that? Because there was like the introduction, the introduction. Yeah, this one. There was one of the first fragments we saw where he was like, I think he promised Takano that he would bring her a camera, right? He would mail one of his old cameras to her or something. Maybe, actually. Maybe. Let me try this one. No? Okay. I didn't think so, because I hadn't heard anything that, like, resembled a promise. But I thought maybe that one moment. We haven't seen Satoshi get a part-time job, or have footsteps following him. Reina hasn't been introduced to the story yet. The Ryugyus have not been introduced to the story yet. The Ryugyus have not been introduced to the story yet. The Hurure couple hasn't died. Pops hasn't come around to expect a lot. The red capsule hasn't happened yet. Keiichi is involved in the story yet. None of that. None of these. So clearly I'm missing something. But I've not. Has Irie made a decision? What the fuck was Irie's decision? What was that like when like Takano like kind of like prodded him and said, "Yeah, you don't have the will to do this. You don't have the determination. You don't have the fucking guts to do it like I do." Is that what it was? Also, what's number 28? Did I already see 28? I just realized that one's needed for Satoko's test result as well, but I haven't marked it off. Whatever. I guess Irie made a decision at some point. The only thing I can imagine is if it was, yeah, that moment where Takano was calling him spineless and he's like, "Fuck you, I have my own, will driving me forward and all this." Plans for Satoko's dissection are moving right along. I don't want Satoshi-kun to be sad. I feel pity for Satoko-chan in her harsh circumstances. Still struggling with how much I have to sacrifice for the sake of research.
え？ああ、すみません。どうなさいましたか、リカさん。
僕の友達がずっと長く入院していますが、その子はひなみ沢症候群。
それを誰に聞き？
僕がそう思っただけです。どうなのですか？さとこはひなみ沢症候群ではないのですか？
Riki-chan is on our side. There's nothing I have to hide from her. Actually, I probably shouldn't keep anything from her.
はい。両親との不仲と、その両親の突然の彼女の心には、それは一度に受け入れるには、それが引き金になったのかもしれません。
検査の結果は？
レベル5です。上辺は非常に安定して見えますが、先日からサトシ君の見舞いも謝絶にしました。
Okay, there's the refusal to see Satoshi. Gotcha. That's open now. Alright.
サトシに聞きましたです。サトコの心の傷がなかなか言えないと気に入りえ、サトコはどうなるのですか？
Satoko-chan is Riki-chan's best friend. How can I tell her that we're planning to dissect Satoko-chan? However, even if I don't say anything, she already knows that Satoko-chan's situation is extremely poor.
入江は僕の体を調べてたくさんのことが分かったのではないですか？
ええ、それはも症状を抑える効果が期待される試薬も
それをサトコに与えることはできませんので。
一度は考えました。しかし体力や精神力に余裕がある検体に試し、サトコちゃんのようなもう後がない人間に試せるような代物ではありません。
では入江、その薬を試さないならサトコはどうなってしまうのですか？
She spoke as if aware of our plans for Satoko-chan. No, she must actually know. I've told her about most of my research. She's more mature than she looks, so it'd be easy for her to figure it out.
僕はサトコが 1% でも助かる可能性があるなら。
非常に危険。最悪の場合、彼女は即座に末期発症し錯乱するか、さもなければ人としての心を失い、どちらもそれはあまりに過酷な運命です。
全身麻酔で痛みを感じさせずに入江、よく高野が言う通り医学に 100% はない。でもこのまま放置すればならばどちらにかけるかは明白なはず。
そうですね、その通りです。
But I know too well. C-103, the medicine that's being tested, may not even be something that can be used. It may not even have a 1% chance of success. Worse, can't even imagine what kind of tragic end she'd meet if her body rejects the medicine. That's why I'm tempted to believe it would be far more merciful to feed her favorite food, let her gently fall asleep, and after that, dissect her while she dreams. I don't want to admit it, but Takano-san is right. I'm being indecisive and showing a lack of resolve. How effective could the medicine made by someone like that really be? So, because it was medicine I created myself, I couldn't even believe there might be a 0.1% chance of success.
僕は入江の作った薬なら信用できると思いますです。
She spoke as if she read my mind. Surprised, I raised my head up to look at her and found her giving me a reassuring look I never would have imagined someone her age capable of.
入江は人の命を左右するとても辛い仕事に耐えている。本来人の生き死になど人間がどうにかしようというのがおこがましいこと。その重圧は背負った者にしかわからない。
Her voice hasn't changed. Yes, it has. But I feel like Rika-chan is admonishing me. Almost as if she knows what it's like to be responsible for human lives.
その重さは罪の意識と後悔の重さを加えて決められる。だから入江はまだまだ危険な薬を聡子に試せない。そうでしょ。
Takano-san said the same thing when she criticized me earlier. I'm being criticized again.
でもだからあなたになら人の命はとてその重みに耐えかねるのはあなたが人の命を大切にしたい心があるからこそよ。そんな心がなくしてどうして人を病気から救えるというの？高野みたいに人をモルモットとしか思ってないやつの治療薬なんか試せると思う？
I shouldn't have laughed, but I couldn't help it. I felt like I should laugh.
高野とあなたがそれぞれ私は入江の薬の方が治るように思う。だって薬は人の心から生み出されるんだもの。自分の身から滴り落ちる雫で。
おっしゃる通りです。医者が薬のことで諭されるとは。
私は自分の体を私の体から注射針で抜き出したもの。その雫から命の本当の重さを知り、それが聡子に効かないわけがない。
Do shrine maidens take confessions? If they do, she's doing a great job being a shrine maiden at this age.
これは賭けになります。聡子ちゃんが果たして受け入れてくれるかどうか。
聡子に伝える必要。聡子にとってひなみ沢症候群を知ることは心の深い傷をもう一度えぐることにしかならないのだから。
What did she mean by those words? When I realized it later, I was surprised by how thoughtful and perceptive she was.
解剖計画を中止させましょう。北条聡子に対する C103 投与実験に変更し、せめて 1% でもうまくいく確率が上がるように努力します。
大丈夫ですよ。絶対にうまくいきますです。
そんな楽観してはいけません。
大丈夫なのです。もう決まってることなのですから。これはフルデ神社の巫女様の心強いお告げです。ファイトオーなのですよ。
Okay, okay. So we have the discontinuation. He's officially announced it. C103. That's results. That's nothing new. That's C117. Okay, nothing about C103 just yet. But that's fragment 1 done. Did I do fragment 28, wherever that may be? I did. Okay. In fact, I think that was like one of the last ones I did in the previous recording, which makes sense why I didn't think to take it off. So I suppose the next one would be number 2. We definitely have his motive to become a doctor. We definitely have the discontinuation of the plan. I feel pretty strongly that we can do this one. Okay. C103's implementation on Satoko is going well so far. Wouldn't make any difference to me if the experiment failed. However, Irie's extraordinary focus and attention to the experiment has avoided Satoko Hojo hallucinating or turning into a vegetable during the experiment. And surprisingly, we see prospects of her returning to normal life despite reaching L5. C103 still has many issues, but this experiment proved that even a person who has reached L5 can be cured. I didn't believe in it at first, but I guess I have to acknowledge Irie's hard work. Only Irie could have done this. He was tormented by naive humanism and didn't want to make mistakes, and that's why he felt obligated to cure Satoko Hojo. The reason why I dislike Irie isn't because of his achievements or abilities, but because of that weakness. But this time I had to praise him for it.
入江所長のレポ脱帽と言わざるを得ません。
いえ、私の研究者としての職務を、その結果、医者としての職務も果たせたなら、
今やさとこちゃんは私たちにとって最も重要な検体になったと言っても過言ではないでしょう。何しろレベル5に至りながら生還した初めて。
その通りです。彼女を社会生活に復帰させ、彼女には毎週日曜日にこちらに来てもらって。
しかし C103 を日に3回も注射する義務と毎週日曜日に検査に訪れる彼女には何の病気の自覚もないのに。
そこは今うまく納得してもらえる話を考えています。今考えているのは私の研究論文に協力してもらうというものです。栄養剤の注射を毎日してもらい、毎週日曜日にその効果を検査する。その代わりに研究協力費としていくらかを支払うという感じです。
I guess Irie is determined to cure Satoko Hojo no matter what. He seemed determined to keep her off the dissection table. He and I are in different positions, but I don't have any complaints about his naive ideals, so long as they translate directly into passion for our research. If his plans can be put into effect and produce a different result than the dissection would, then they'll still be useful to the overall understanding of the Hinamizawa syndrome. I have nothing against Satoko Hojo. It's only that I see her as a research specimen. If she can be useful in that capacity without being dissected, that's perfectly fine with me.
日に3回もの注射となれば、これは本人だけでなく、保護者の方の同意も不可欠です。
And then their guardians will be like, I don't give a fuck about that brat.
確か、ご両親が亡くなってからは、おじ夫婦に親権が移っていましたね。そちらに一度、相談に伺おうと思います。メイへの怪しげな研究協力を承諾してもらえればいいのですが。
そのための研究協力費ですもの。
Yeah, no.
月に10万か20万も振り込んでやれば。
If the money's genuine, yeah, no, they'll be elated to receive money.
それだけの予算はありますか？
もちろん、二郎さんを納得させる資料を作りさえすれば。
わかりました。それは私が作ります。あと、さとこちゃんに心労をかけないよう、レベル5をぶり返すことになったら、噂では、おじ夫婦はとても現金な方だとか、金銭で丸め込むのは可能かもしれません。それらの指導も、私の方できっちり行うつもりです。
I've heard Satoko-chan isn't getting along with her aunt and uncle. Never thought that'd affect us in any way. Now Irie has to deal with them. Maybe he's developed some kind of sense of responsibility or duty as her guardian. I don't really care. The more responsible he feels, the more progress our research makes. That'll be a plus for me.
それはそうと、H17 丸番台についての。
ええ。入江所長の成果に比べれば足元にも及びませんが、一応の。
本当に皮肉ですね。彼女を錯乱から救う治療薬を作っていた研究所で、その傍らでは、彼女を直ちに錯乱させる危険な薬が作られていたのですから。
Irie was involved in the H170 research. That was my work. In fact, even if I asked him, he wouldn't have agreed to be involved. This dangerous reagent was developed during the process of uncovering the mechanisms behind how the pathogens controlling Satoko Hojo's brain could induce derangement or paranoia in their host. To put it bluntly, injecting H170 into a patient with Hinamizawa syndrome forced them to express terminal symptoms. It threw the brain into a simulated state of agitation, intentionally forcing the pathogen to grow unstable. If we continue researching this, it will be possible to drive anyone with Hinamizawa syndrome violently insane at any time. Studying the mechanism behind that will help to solve the syndrome's mysteries. So this study on H170 will be extremely important to future research. So I mean, I guess, Rico was kind of spot on the money if, like, if Irie developed a drug and Takano developed a drug, definitely would trust Irie's more. Because Irie's making a cure for it, but Takano's trying to cause it so she can continue studying it. Also, this medicine has military applications, as the client requested. At this point, there's absolutely no use for it, but once our research progresses a bit further, this H170 could be spread at the right moment to cause a certain type of reaction. Compared to a killer virus, it seems like a useless pathogen, but there's no way to detect it in a dead body, and it makes it look as though the person just went insane spontaneously, so it must have some useful applications. The Marco Polo Bridge incident threatened to end research on Hinamizawa's syndrome before. A historically important incident like that couldn't have been created by a killer virus, but it's possible with Hinamizawa syndrome. The elders of the Alphabet Project, the sponsor for our research, can think of whatever they want about that. I don't care how they use what I've learned. My purpose is to solve the mysteries of Hinamizawa syndrome and to make people realize how important this research is. Also, to make people acknowledge my grandfather's accomplishments and achievements. Any military applications were just byproducts of the process that I didn't care about.
クライアントにとっては高野さんの成果の方が喜ばれるでしょう。来期の予算取りが楽になるかもしれません。
情熱だけでは研究は続けられませんものね。先立つものがなければ。
これだけの潤沢な資金を提供してくださるスポンサーさん、これだけのお金が公費から出ているのですから。
日本という国は私たちが想像しているよりずっと豊かなのかもしれませんね。公費は公費でも表に出せない黒い公費でしょうけれどね。
Idia has no idea what I had to go through to get that money. Anyway, our research is going extremely well. We don't know what we'll find out about Hinamizawa syndrome, but I'm sure every mystery will eventually be solved. I can hardly wait. What the syndrome indicates is that humans are simply empty containers, and what we believe to be our will is simply the actions of parasites that live in our brains. If that mystery was solved, it would have a greater impact than anything else in history. That is a truth which nobody wants to believe. This is an achievement my grandfather predicted back during his time. Ah, I know now. I know the reason why my grandfather was so fascinated by his work. Oh. Okay, that's fragment 2 done. And we have both the results of C103 and H107. I don't think there's anything else that fragment gives us. No. Looks like our next one should be number 14. Yeah, the accident at Shirakawa Park. We should actually have this ready now. Sadako-chan's dissection plan has been scrubbed, and we're getting ready to administer an almost totally untested medicine, C103. This experimental medicine suppresses the production of a certain type of hormone, and in doing so, it'll stop the transmission of the syndrome triggering Sadako-chan's condition. The mechanism of Hinamizawa syndrome is as follows. The pathogen takes over the frontal lobe of the patient's brain, and then induces increased responsiveness to paranoia. As a result, a patient voluntarily carries out excessively defensive behaviors to a problematic extent. If this induction can be cut off, then it'll be possible to save terminal patients from becoming deranged. But it only cuts off an induction, so it's not really a cure. Ironically, the brain is an organ that learns. Once the brain has learned to be excessively paranoid due to the Hinamizawa syndrome, even after the pathogen is eliminated, the brain doesn't simply unlearn that paranoia. In short, even if the pathogen doesn't induce derangement, the patient will be directed to such emotions of their own volition. Thus, it is impossible to completely escape the nearly deranged L5 state. The proverb, "a burnt child dreads the fire," is a good example of this. Even after the burn on your tongue heals, the fear of being burned by food again remains. When it ends up being a good thing, we call it learning a lesson. We call it trauma when it doesn't. We predict Satoko-chan's treatment will take a significantly long time, requiring both medication, such as administering psychotropics and mental care, like counseling. We have to slowly unravel her mind's solidified paranoia while also suppressing the syndrome's induction of derangement. This is the treatment plan for terminal patients like Satoko-chan. However, as we are going to stimulate the parts of her brain that affect her emotions while they are being stimulated by the pathogen at the same time, it's possible that there could be unexpected side effects. Both her mental and physical strength hold the key to our success. We're going to begin the experiment when she regains her emotional stability and physical strength, but someone who threatens to disturb her emotional stability has been coming here every day. Uh-huh. Good old Oishi. Oishi, a sly detective from the Okonomiya Police Department. He thinks everything, from the damn protest to the dismemberment murder of the construction manager, is an organized effort secretly conducted by the three families of the village. He even thinks the accident involving Satoko-chan's parents wasn't an accident. That's why he keeps coming back so he can talk to Satoko-chan.
何度来られても聡子ちゃんへの面会を彼女は両親を亡くしたショックでそれを汲み取ることはできませんか
いやいや本当にちょっとだけお話が聞ければいいんです
No, I won't let you see her under any circumstances. She's going through a lot right now. I understand. A few minutes. No, that's not what I said.
そうお時間を取らせるつもりはないんですがね令状が必要だってんなら申請し私も北条さんの容体を気遣っているからこそ令状を取るなんて
令状を取ってまで一体何を聡子ちゃんに
今回の転落事故ではなく
北条夫妻がダム戦争以来ですがわざわざ旅行先まで追いかけて突き落とすというのは
まあ事故でもいいならばどうしてもよくわからない嘘があるんですどうして嘘がこりゃ事故ってことはありえないんじゃないかなって思うんです
嘘とはい
えね北条聡子さんの言う事故当時は車で眠っていたっていう話ちょいと話がおかしいんじゃないかなってそう思うんです
Satoko-chan claimed she was asleep in the back seat when the accident took place, so she didn't get out of the car at the viewing platform. When she woke up, she didn't see her parents. Then she found out they had fallen off the cliff.
それのどこに嘘があるまさか聡子ちゃんが実は眠っていなくて両親と一緒に展望台へ行ったとそういう
そうです北条聡子さんは、ね、両親と一緒に車を降りて展望台へ行ったんです
I'm suddenly hit by a terrible possibility. Yup. If what Oishi says is true, and Satoko-chan is saying she didn't go to the viewing platform even though she actually did, it's terrible to even imagine.
何をそれになぜ嘘をつく必要が聡子ちゃんにあるんだ
それなんですよなぜ北条聡子さんは嘘をつかなければならないのそれの本当のところを教えていただけないとこいつはただの転落事故ってことでは済まず
どうして聡子ちゃんが嘘をついているとお思いなんです
今回の事故は所轄が違いますので白川署さんが関係者から事情聴取をしているんですがねその調書を読んでみるとどうにも引っかかる
ところとは
北条聡子さんの主張に彼女は両親に展望台へ行こうと誘われたがそして彼女はそのまま熟睡してしまいそしていつまでも戻ってこない両親に不安その声を聞いて巡回中の公園作業員が話しかけてこの時ですね公園作業員の証言では両親が崖下に転落したと彼女が先に行ったというんですところがこの時北条夫妻が止めた車の位置からはいや注意深く見れば柵が破損していたのを気づけたかもしれないでもですよ目が覚めたら両親がいないのを知って真っ先に崖下へ転落したというのは尋常ではないと思うんです普通は両親が自分を置いてどこかに散歩に行ってしまい戻ってこないというはずなんです転落する直接の現場を見てもいないのに両親が転落したと第三者にいきなり言うのがねこの辺りどうして彼女は両親が転落したと確信したのか入院前に私も何度かお尋ねはしているんですが記憶にない当時は混乱していたと私はじっくり話をしてみる価値があるかなって思っていたんですよ
That terrifying possibility has turned to certainty in my head. I'd assumed that her parents' accident triggered her terminal symptoms, but no. Satoko-chan had already gone terminal, and just before the accident, her heart was filled with paranoia that drove her mad. She was under a lot of stress because of her bad relationship with her stepfather. She was also being scolded by her mother for not being able to get along with him. If that made her paranoid, made her think her parents considered her to be a bother and were going to kill her. When they went to the viewing platform, she must have thought they were going to push her off the cliff. Then a tragedy took place, and she pushed her parents off instead, although she considered it to have been self-defense. I'm certain of that. because I know Hinamizawa syndrome better than anybody. This accident isn't an accident. It isn't a crime either, like Oishi's thinking. It is simply a tragedy. When I talked to Satoshi-kun about the family, I was even more convinced. He told me even though Satoko-chan refused to open up to her stepfather, he had tried to communicate with her. It's true the relationship didn't go well in the beginning. Satoko-chan caused trouble repeatedly and even called the city's child abuse hotline. At that point, they received guidance from the Child Consultation Center, and they pointed out that the problem lay in the lack of communication between daughter and stepfather. So the stepfather took a parenting course under the social worker's guidance, and awkward though it was, he made efforts to communicate with her. Satoshi-kun noticed his efforts, so he tried to talk to Satoko-chan about it. But Satoko-chan didn't notice them at all. The excessive stress she was under triggered terminal symptoms, and she couldn't understand her stepfather's remorse. On the contrary, her stepfather's change created even more mistrust within her. As a result, they went to enjoy the beautiful view of the Shirakara Nature Park as a family, and to share in that joy. Yet that humble, ordinary family's wish couldn't even get through to Satoko-chan. What a tragic misunderstanding. Satoko-chan stayed in the car, telling her parents that she wanted to sleep, but then she got out and snuck up behind them. I bet he heard the footsteps. He pretended not to notice her, thinking that she was doing that to surprise him. It's sad just thinking about what must have ran through his mind. While he thought he had finally gotten through to her, she was actually approaching him with the intent to kill. But that's not Satoko-chan's true nature. It's the disease. Satoko-chan isn't the only one who is to be pitied. Her parents are its victims too. And now, Oishi thinks she's a criminal. Judgment and punishment are required for crimes with malicious intent. What she really needs is understanding and sympathy. And no one has that understanding. Except for me, because I know about Hinamizawa syndrome. I am the director of the Irie Institute, but I've never behaved as such or exercised that authority. But I'm going to do so for the first time since taking the position. I'm not doing it as head of the Irie Institute, the secret research organization. I'm doing it as a doctor, so I can protect Satoko-chan.
白川自然公園のこの件、事故で決着するように山犬のおこのぎさんにお願いしてもらうことはできますか？
ええ、そんなこと山犬はそういうものの隠蔽や捏造にも確かに早くあの転落事故が事故ということに決着。
そういうことで特に大石さんがこの件から早く引き上げるよう試薬投与実験のデリケートな時期で不要な辛労をかけるのは
まったくですわね。山犬にそのように伝えます。警察にもすでにコネクションがあるとのことなので圧力をかけるよう指示しましょう。近日中に白川転落事故は事故として確定することになると思いますわ。
With that, it was declared an accident. If only it really was one, it would have eased Satoko-chan's soul. Getting rid of the pathogen can't heal that wounded soul, nor can it erase the tragedy that had already taken place. All I can do is my best, so the day she regains her smile comes sooner. Yeah. Okay. That explains away why one body went missing, but in that case it never seemed like there was someone who like lost their shit because we didn't know about the person who did actually lose their shit. Okay, so that takes care of number 14, but then that also opens up that we have the truth on the accident. Anything else new? No, I think that was it thus far. Alright, so now we should be able to do number 11, which should be this one here. Yep, results in the research. Okay, and then the title of that one tells me what I need to know. Distrust of the mother of a queen. Yep, this is where we get the mother's suspicion involved. Okay. Rika's developed a high fever. Okay, well, there's that too. We're crossing multiple things off the list now. We got Rika's high fever. We got the mother's distrust. Let's keep going. A very high fever. It's not flu season, or a season for any type of contagious disease. I can only think of the suspicious experiments Rika has gone through. Maybe the fever is being caused by those. Her growth is rather slow compared to other children her age. receiving mysterious shots and going through experiments every week. I'm sure her body is exhausted. I've asked the staff to go easy on her, but Rika herself is fearless and is willing to go through anything. My husband, who should be admonishing her for that, truly believes their story that it's crucial to the lives of over 2,000 villagers and takes our own daughter to that clinic every week. I'm the only one who's sincerely worried about her health. That's why I want to ask Dr. Irie to be a little more considerate towards Rika. Anyway, I have to talk to them about taking responsibility for this. Right after I called, a staff member came to pick Rika up to admit her to the clinic. As her guardian, I came with them.
落ち着いてください。必ず救いますから。もう
これが落ち着けるかというんです。急にこんな高熱が出るなんて。これも先週にやったというなんとかという怪しげな実験の影響じゃないんですか。リカはね、年相応の小さな女の子なんですよ。リカは友達思いだから、病気にかかった友達のためにと。
分かっております。それに私たちの研究が間違ってもリカさんに悪い影響を及ぼすようなことはありえ。
だったらこのリカの熱は一体どういうことなんですか。
おそらくは季節の変わり目ですので。
風邪なわけないでしょ。あなたたちが妙な薬を注射したからに決まっています。
Dr. Irie only told me to calm down and refused to accept responsibility. My husband told me this is all for the sake of the village, and that's why I've held back my doubts until now. But I'm at my limit. Their existence has been suspicious from the beginning. They're conducting their research in secret, using a privacy policy as an excuse. That was shady enough on its own. It's just impossible. In fact, I called the Ministry of Health and was told that wasn't true at all. Even after I told them I'm Rika Furude's mother. The clinic even came up with stupid excuses, saying normal workers often don't know of a special institute like theirs. That doesn't make sense at all. It's much, much too suspicious. Also, there are people who don't appear to be researchers working at the institute. They look like security guards, but they seem so different from normal guards at a normal hospital. In fact, one time I accidentally saw that they were armed with guns.
それはです。
あの人たちはとてもそうには見えません。大体あなた方は何者なんですか。
Damn. So the whole reason Rika loses her parents is because the mom got too close to fucking exposing shit that was going on here.
厚生省の人間だなんて私は今更信じませんよ。
Dr. Irie seems taken aback by my intensity and can't even answer properly. Yeah, and that's when Takano steps into the picture. They're still hiding a lot more from us. That tells me the research they're working on with Rika isn't anything proper.
とにかくリカはまだまだ子供。あの子が何をどう返事しようとも今後は一切研究を手伝わ。
あらあら、リカちゃんのお母さん、どうもこんに。あら、どうかなさいまして。
いえ、お母さんがリカさんをこれ以上研究に関わらせたくないとおっしゃってました。
それはどうしてですか。
うちの子はあなたたちの実験動物ではないからです。
そう扱ったことなどそれは大きな誤解ですわ。
I'm a little startled. Dr. Irie is a weak person who backs down under pressure. Takano-san is different. I'm yelling at her, but she's not afraid at all. Yeah, no. You think she's afraid of someone raising their voice? Oh god, no. Fuck, this woman loves a challenge. On the contrary, she's glaring daggers and looks as if she's about to jump on me.
リカちゃんの熱は私たちのせいだなん。私たちは安全や衛生には国立研究所クラスの注意を払ってます。失礼ですが、アルコール消毒もしない手でリカちゃんの手を引いて歩いているあなたより。
そんなこと。とにかくリカはあなたたちの。リカはもう二度とここへは連れて。
あなたの一存で決められてはご協力をいただくことについて、研究に協力していただく見返りに決して少なくないが。そんな
お金聞いたこともないです。
Rika receiving money for participating in their research really is news to me. Knowing my husband's character, he wouldn't have used it as spending money behind my back. But he thought of it as a free service for the villagers and completely forgot about the money being deposited into our account. There haven't been any strange deposits in the regular account, so maybe in our savings. Anyway, I don't care about that.
契約を保護にされる場合には、それまでの振込額をすべて返還して、他にも一方的な保護についてそちらに非がある。
高野さん、落ち着いてください。お母さんもどうか。ひなみ沢症候群は以前にもご説明させていただきましたように、そのためにはどうしてもリカさんのご協力が必要。
治療のためって じゃあその治療薬はいつになったら出来上がるんですか？大体おかしいじゃないですか。リカの友達のさとこちゃんのためということでしたけど、そのさとこちゃんはもう退院し、確か先々週にうちの人が話を聞いた時にも、もう治療のめどは
目処はついたというような
I may
話
have
はし
said
たと思います。
something like that.
ですが、ひなみ沢症候群の全貌を解明するためには、
全貌の解明なんか最初の話で聞いていません。リカが協力するのは村人の病気を治療するためならもう十分ではありません。皆さんがリカに怪しげな研究やら検査やらをしているのはあなた方の興味本位であって。
そんなことはありません。とにかくリカさんの風邪の件は誤解なんです。もしどうしてもご不審ということ。
とにかくお金の話もあるみたいなので、私も帰って夫と相談し、それでは失礼します。
They were just too shady from the very start. Because of their exaggerated story, Rika and my husband took their side, but it won't work on me. Anyhow, I must settle things with them right away, because Rika isn't their toy. I especially don't trust that woman called Takano. Dr. Irie seems to me like he's still a doctor, but she doesn't. How can I describe her? Guess I can say the glow in her eyes is just unpleasant. She only sees Rika as a guinea pig. I can feel cruelty emitting from her. Neither my husband nor Rika have noticed that. I must protect her. As a mother, I must protect Rika.
高野さんらしくもない。あそこで喧嘩を買ってしまったら余計に話がこじれてしまうでは。あなたらしくもないですよ。
そうですわね。
Damn. Yeah, so you never see Takano make angry expressions like that.
ごめんなさい。取り乱してしまって。
Did something happen to put her in a bad mood? Irie wondered. Then the heated conversation she just had didn't involve the Takano he knew. So I guess whatever this opens up probably leads us to the death of Koizumi, I'm guessing. Because that definitely seems like something she'd get pretty heated about. That was number 11, right? Number 11? Yes, that was number 11. Okay. Number 11. We have the suspicion of the mother. There was one other thing. Yeah, Rika's fever. So that should open up 2 more fragments for us. Okay, I believe that's all that opens up. It's crazy being able to see all the requirements I have left without having to scroll down at all. It's quite nice. Alright. It's time for the 3rd sacrifice then. The situation has changed. Rika's father suddenly changed his mind about having her help out with the research. Uh-huh. Because I'm sure his wife was very demanding. When Rika came down with a high fever the other day, her mother, who wasn't happy about her daughter helping in the first place, finally blew up. I was hoping the father would convince her somehow, but now he seems to be on her side. Rika's father didn't get emotional like her mother, but he demanded that we make our research plans for Rika clear, and that we finish our research within 3 months at most, which was completely unrealistic. Research can't have a deadline, that's out of the question. We cultivate results by grinding down our knowledge, skills, and time. To take time away from us is like taking away what's vital to live. How could he say such a thing? Curses, 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 curses. Rika's parents are only saying that because they don't know anything about scientific research. However, as they are the parents of the Queen Carrier, we're completely lost about what to do. Tests and experiments on the Queen Carrier are an essential part of our research into Hinamizawa syndrome. Her existence is the focal point of our work. To lose her would be like losing your sense of direction out in open water. Rika's providing her cooperation with our research, but the withdrawal of her guardian's consent could be a setback. The situation is extremely dire. Rika's parents are only interested in finding a cure, but to me, the cure is only a small part of solving the mystery. I can't let her go. Are our differences causing the predicament? And it's not only them, the same is happening between Irie and me. He thinks it's inevitable that we need to stop the research if Rika's parents refuse to consent. That's understandable. From the beginning, Irie never had the determination to solve the mysteries of Hinamizawa syndrome. He won't back down from the research assertively, but he will passively by agreeing with Rika's parents. Is that the attitude of a researcher who's trying to unravel mysteries? He's the type of man who would step on my grandfather's research with his dirty feet. He's nothing but a coward who's into this half-heartedly. He started to feel guilty over his past the moment he saw blood. He isn't qualified to even be involved in researching Hinamizawa syndrome. He's simply an outsider who joined in because of the client's demands. If I were a man, he wouldn't be here in the first place. While it's true he produced wonderful results with his development of a cure, he seems to think it's alright to close up shop with that. Is he planning to waste everything by being satisfied with just that tiny result? That man doesn't have any right to discard my grandfather's research. I can feel my guts boiling. No. It isn't the main person at fault. The one to blame here is that woman, Rika's mother. If she wasn't so selfish, this wouldn't have happened. Maybe it's partly my fault. I maintained trust through relationships and obligations all this time. But somehow Rika's mother and I didn't get along, so I didn't try to socialize with her. I thought it was fine because I got along with Rika and her father. But now the mother has influenced the father and changed his decision. What negligence. What a reversal. What a blunder. Idiot is saying we should talk to the office in Tokyo about what to do next. But I know once the Tokyo office finds out about this, they'll order us to shut the research down. I've worked so hard to even get things started. If they hear anything negative, they'll put a stop to it. I've come too far to complete my grandfather's research. I can't let it be stopped. I still have a little time to think about this. I need to calm down and analyze this carefully. I've always come up with a great plan when I drink my favorite tea and bite my nails like this. I looked up at the ceiling and closed my eyes, as tenderly as possible. There were times where I couldn't find a solution, but someone else came up with a simple one. I've been able to overcome everything that's been thrown at me. I even endured the hell at that orphanage, so I will never let that woman get in the way. Settle your thoughts down. Think about this clearly. Be calm, Mio Takano. Someone else may come up with a better idea. But who? It's not me. It can't be Irie. Of course, nobody from the village will do. Do I talk to someone in Tokyo? No, I can't. I don't want to owe anyone a favor. Even Koizumi-sensei would be disgusted if he finds out I can't solve such a simple matter by myself. Ah, I know. There's someone I can talk to nearby. They're supposed to be my subordinates after all, so it's worth a try. I called the leader of the mountain dogs, Okonogi. The mountain dogs are my subordinates, but they're part of the self-defense force, and I'm just a researcher. So we never really had a chance to interact. He did what he was supposed to, and I did what I was supposed to. So I never even thought of discussing anything with him. But the mountain dogs are there to protect and support our research. Why didn't I think of talking to him before?
Sora, nangina desu na.
He used to speak in standard Japanese, but now he has the Hinamizawa accent. I guess fitting into the region is the first thing they need to do.
このままだと女王感染者の協力が受けられなくなるばかりか。山犬で何か手は打てる?
I asked Okonogi rather directly. I'm not really expecting an answer, but...
了解しました。山犬で対応します。お時間をいただければきれいにやりますよ。
対応?
警察沙汰にならんようにしますんで。難しい仕事じゃありませんね。
I'm startled. Rika's mother's my enemy, but I was thinking about how I could convince her. But the leader of the mountain dogs, the counterintelligence unit whose duty is to protect the secret research, came up with a much simpler plan.
それは殺すということ。
入江機関の機密保持にあたってはもちろんご命令があって初めて実行することですが。
Right. This is a very simple problem to him. Rika's mother has started to interfere with our research. Not only that, there's a chance she might talk to people about the institute, so they will eliminate her.
それは確かにうまい手ね。うまくやれるの？
そのために来ている我々大臣の孫の誘拐以来久々の大仕事になりますわ。
Ah, I remember now. Mountain dogs are the ones who kidnapped the grandson of the Minister of Construction and used that to blackmail him. It has been a few years, so I completely forgot about that. They did such a marvelous job then. That's right. That's right. I have the mountain dogs on my side.
実行はすぐにでも可能？
ただ殺すだけなら今夜にでも。ただそれでは騒ぎが大きくなります。そのための時間さえもらえれば。
Just like a cat's eye under a bright light, I can feel something in the back of my eyes open up. Up until now, I'd been racking my brain trying to figure out how to make her my ally, or at least make her surrender, or pacify her. Yet, one order to this man, the problem's easily solved. I feel like a bird taking its first flight. How easily I can get rid of that annoying mother. All I have to do is give an order. I feel grateful to Koizumi-sensei for giving me such terrific subordinates. What a wonderful power he has given me. I was taught that all people are equal, but if I have the power to control people's lives, then that means I'm more important than they are. What a feeling it is to be above others.
消すのはフルデリカの母親だ。
え？あ、いや、 ちょっと待って。
Does he mean only Rika Furude's mother? I can feel chills all over my body. If possible, maybe I should have her father disappear too. Rika is willing to help. She has no other relatives in the Furude family. If both parents die, she has to depend on someone. The Ida Institute can support her. We can give her status, money, and protection. We can give her everything. By doing so, maybe it's possible to make her one of us rather than just having her as a helper. All my worries are melting away. Everything I was just concerned about seems like a joke now. I had such powerful subordinates all this time, yet I never realized. All of my tension is being released. I'm starting to feel relaxed. I can feel myself regaining my cool head. I'm going to get rid of them. Rika's parents, that is. The Queen Carrier is my guinea pig. A guinea pig doesn't need parents. That's right. It's almost time for the Watanagashi festival. If they die on that day, people will call it the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. The murder case from 2 years ago and the accident from last year are two separate incidents, yet because they happened on the day of Watanagashi, they're being called the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. Then if her parents' deaths occur on this year's Watanagashi, it'll be Oyashiro-sama's curse 3 years in a row. The miracle of Oyashiro-sama. Also, the curse. I'm going to create them. This is a chance for me to ascend to godhood and toy with human fate. The incidents that occur 2 years in a row are said to be a curse, but not everyone believes that. However, if it happens 3 years in a row, then everyone has to believe, because that'll be a true curse that's created by me. I'll become Oyashiro-sama. My desire for revenge against God is coming together. Revenge? Well, that's her desire for revenge. I won't quite call this Takano's revenge.
ただ消すだけではなんだか面白みがないと思わない？
When I started to laugh, Okanogi grinned to show his interest.
私たちの手で
I can't just let her die. She'll be demoned away, and I'm going to enjoy dissecting her alive. See, now she's dissecting people who aren't even L5s. Of course, I won't just have fun. Oh, wait, no, she'll use the H170, right, to trigger an L5. Yeah. Okay. This will be extremely useful for our research. After all, she's the previous Queen Carrier. Okay. Okay. So that takes care of fragment 7. I imagine that counts as the third year's curse. Like, it's called the third sacrifice, but like technically it didn't actually happen. Because that's the thing, there's so for 3 it's the third year's curse is required. But then for 15, it's the execution order for the third year's curse. Okay, and that's the death, which would be the actual curse. Okay, so we have the order, right? We have the order, it's going to happen. I'd say, I'd assume anyway, but the actual curse has not happened yet. Yeah, that seems about right. Alright, one way to find out. Yep. Deep down, I was prepared for something to happen tonight, once again. First year, the workers were stirred into a frenzy, killing dismembering the old man. Yeah, I figured this was Oishi. And the second year, the Hojo couple were killed through a fake accident. Since the dam protests, only people who have been hated by the villagers died on the day of Watanagashi. Some people in the village were calling the accidents the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. Now that the dam protests are over, there'd be no meaning in the village's enemies being killed on the night of the festival, I thought. If that was true, then there were still some enemies left over. I thought that perhaps that would happen again on the night of the festival 3 years in a row. My hunch was right. At first, however, it looked so natural that I didn't think anything of it. The festival was nearing its end and the village officials were gathered under the main tent. They opened their beers and enjoyed the leftover corn and braised cow tripe from the refreshment stands. I was in the main tent too, being entertained by the villagers. So I was actually there at the scene of the third year's incident when it happened. Yet, I didn't notice anything at the beginning. Most of the older folks in the village were heavy drinkers, but a few were lightweights too. The priest was one of the latter. The priest was a representative as well as a host during the Watanagashi festival. So every time visitors and guests arrived, he greeted them, each time he was offered a drink, so by the night's end he was pretty worn out. That's why I didn't think anything of it, to see the priest sitting by himself in a folding chair. The mayor, Kimiyoshi, was the one to tap his shoulder and ask him if he was alright.
大丈夫飲みすぎだよきっと何胸が苦しいの
すみません。
あれあんた心臓やってたっけ急に痛くなるのは良くない兆しだよ入江先生先生
どうしましたか胸ですかそれは良くないですね
And it... Yeah, okay. So they did something to manipulate his chest or whatever. Gave him some kind of... Slipped him some kind of something or... I'm not sure. But obviously Irie is not in on this. So Irie was in on the first... the first curse, right? The second curse was... that was something triggered by Satoko's L5 symptoms. But then 3, 4, and 5. Well, no, 3 for sure was 3 and 5 for sure are Takano. 4 seems like another accident. Once again caused by the Hojo siblings. Since like they trade off every year. Okay. When I saw what was going on, I noticed he was covered in a terrible sweat and was definitely not relaxing in his chair and enjoying the cool evening breeze. His face had a sickly pallor, and I thought he should lie down immediately.
ちょっと診療所にお連れした方が大丈夫ですか私の肩に掴まれますか
おいおい神主さん
うちの人どうかしたんですかあなた
高野さんちょうど良いところ神主さんの具合が悪いようなので
Perfect timing.
診療所に連れて行きますすみませんが境内の下に車を回してもらってもよろしいですか
お安いご用です。
So the priest and his wife headed to the clinic with Dr. Irie. I don't know about young people, but the elderly know their own bodies well. They almost never push themselves to the point where they start feeling ill, especially someone like the priest. So I had to imagine him drinking himself sick. The cumulative experience in my ears was telling me something. I headed to the Irie clinic just in case. Tried to follow their car, but because the festival was almost over and all the stands were closing up, there was a lot of traffic going in and out, making it almost impossible for me to leave the temporary parking lot. More than 20 minutes had passed since the priest was carried in by the time I arrived at the clinic. 20 minutes. If it hadn't taken me 20 minutes, my involvement in this year's incident would have been quite different. I regretted not leaving on foot the moment I realized how hard it was to get my car out. All I get to do now is jot down the facts. Because between the time the priest left and the festival and the time I arrived at the clinic, during those 20 minutes, this year's curse had taken place. The priest's condition changed for the worse right after he arrived at the clinic. He died. The autopsy results say it was heart failure, but how can I accept that? I don't think the priest was having health problems. Everyone was taken by surprise by the sudden event. Moreover, the wife of the priest disappeared too. According to the clinic staff, she was with him right after he died, but she's nowhere to be seen now. Of course, she's not at home either. Interesting. So Irie would have to be in on it. If the wife just up and disappears, there's no way Irie couldn't be in on it. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. Wait, go back. She was with him right after he died. But if they convinced her to leave, right? Like, oh, you should go tell Rika or something, you know? You should go be with your child, right? They convinced her to leave. So then the mountain dogs nab her, right? I could see it. I could see it. So that way Irie is unaware of what actually happens to the wife. Okay. Okay. And then she leaves her suicide note. Uh-huh. Of course she's not at home either. Maybe someone poisoned the priest. During the dam conflict, the priest was frowned upon for his remarks. He said there was no need to make a big fuss because the dam project would be cancelled anyway. The older villagers liked old grudges and hadn't forgotten that. So even I had heard word of them talking about how the priest wasn't fit for the shrine to Oyashiro-sama. I called for backup and had them go search for the missing wife. The last year's falling couple incident as a precedent, it was easy to believe both wife and husband could become victims. The village's youth group got organized and searched from the village to the mountains, and as a result, we found a set of sandals and a will by the edge of Onagahuchi Swamp. Will said something about how her husband's death was the curse of Oyashiro-sama. She was throwing herself in the swamp to calm the god's anger. In other words, she committed suicide by jumping into the swamp. Legends say that the swamp is bottomless and is connected directly to hell. Once you sink, you'll never come back. Divers from the police department searched the swamp, but her body was nowhere to be found. The past 2 mysterious incidents were solved individually, just as the higher-ups say, but something is odd about this year's mysterious death. The ill priest was carried to the clinic. His wife accompanied him. Within 20 minutes, the priest died of heart failure, and the wife either committed suicide or disappeared. The death of the priest may really have been a fatal heart attack, but for his wife to assume that it was the curse and to commit suicide by jumping into the swamp, for all that to happen in 20 minutes just doesn't seem natural. That's true. The Hurure family has no relatives. Even if she was a true believer in Oyashiro-sama, how could she commit suicide while leaving behind her one and only daughter? Ide is hiding something too. But he's just a village doctor, which means he's nothing more than their pawn. If this is all conspiracy to assassinate the priest, then there's someone who's pulling the strings. I'd been starting to think that trying to tie the past 2 incidents to the village so forcefully was a bit overbearing of me, but this incident was enough to convince me that this series of cases involving mysterious deaths in Inamizawa were all grounded in one intention. This incident has countless numbers of discrepancies, but someone from the village seems to be putting pressure on high command. Just like the past incidents, this one will be treated as an individual case and end up being forgotten. Since it happened 3 years in a row, everyone in the village will say it's the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I think that's the culprit's goal. After the war, belief in Oyashiro-sama became antiquated. Is someone committing these murders as a ritual to restore that god's dignity? The one pulling the strings must be the Sonozaki family. A few months passed. Orio Sonozaki said something like it was natural for that priest to be cursed by Oyashiro-sama, and so the priest's case was lumped together with the mysterious Hinamizawa deaths, otherwise known as Oyashiro-sama's curse. At first, I simply wanted to avenge the old man, but now that the case had grown to an abnormal one, centered on the village's faith, damn it, the old man's killer is human. I won't let it be pushed off onto some nonsense curse. Okay. Interesting. So that's the actual curse being carried out. That takes care of fragment 15. Let's see, does that fill any other slots? Oh yeah, Death of the Hurure couple. Okay. I don't know if that would technically count as Takano's revenge. I doubt it. Okay. The list is getting shorter and shorter by the moment. But unfortunately, I do have to wrap it up here for today. Didn't have quite as much time today to to make much progress, but we did make a good amount of progress. We did make a bit of progress. We're past the 3rd curse now. We were like just past the 2nd. Now we've covered all the stuff about Satoko. Now we're just past the 3rd. So when does Reina come back into the story? The red capsule, which I believe is the 4th curse? No, 3rd year. Okay. So yeah, this one's, yeah. I remember one being called the red capsule. Oh. Whatever the red capsule is, that's definitely what they did to take out the priest, for sure. And then we can bring Reina back into the story. And then once we bring Reina back into the story, I can at least do this one, more than likely. Oh yeah, we'll be making moves. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately, I do have to wrap this one up here for today. So thank you to anyone watching. It's all much appreciated. And hopefully I will see y'all in the next one. Until then, peace.